was born obsessive compulsive, and that's just the way it is. I just cannot stop trying to produce things, even if my body's giving up on me. I still have all these ideas in my head that I want to manifest.
When I was at school, I could draw. I was a good drawer. So even though I got thrown out of 2 schools, when I was in high school, they would take my artwork and market it HSC level when I was in year 10, because I could draw. I was a good drawer. But I never thought I was going to end up doing that as an occupation. My father was an alcoholic. My mother was depressed all the time. My home life as a child was miserable. My father used to beat me up on the weekends, me and my brother. And so we were running around in the streets with our bikes, escaping the house and doing petty crimes as well, you know, because I think I got addicted to stimulation because I was living a hyper-vigilant life, trying to save my head from being bashed every weekend, and my father was unpredictable with his drinking, and he was miserable, you know, and their marriage was miserable, and being around that, I didn't want to be around that, so I tried to escape all the time. So then I ended up working in a factory. So I was working in a shit factory, and I went from that to a warehouse, and I just started getting really depressed. I thought, where's my life going? This is not the life I'm meant to have. And I wrote a play on scrap paper while I was working in the warehouse about this guy living the wrong life. I never written a play before in my life. I started writing this play. So I kept on persevering with it, and I finished it and ended up getting it produced at Theatre Works, 3-week season, 8 actors. But I just decided to find a way out. I was really into training. I was very fit and I was very buff, and I competed in Mr. Australia 3 times in the bodybuilding championships in drug-free, and I won a title in powerlifting. I was very strong. I trained like religiously because I thought that training would get me out of the life I was in, which got me into doing more modelling jobs, and it got me a lot of acting jobs too, appearing on Neighbours and Chances and all those TV shows, playing guest roles. And before then I was also working as a stripper. And I was doing that around doing lots of theatre productions. I was doing Shakespeare in the Park, and after the end of the show, the dresses would all change me out of my outfit, and I'd run to the car and drive to a club in the city, and I was the closing act in a big male revue show in front of 250 screaming women. So it was a pretty diverse lifestyle to go from low art to high art in half an hour. I lived in London for a while and pursued acting in London, and you know it's a slog working 10-hour shifts in a restaurant, getting paid £3 an hour, living in a dump with 18 people in the house. That's how I had to survive. I worked 10-hour shifts and drew all the rest of the time into the night, then got up the next day, did the shift again, and I got addicted to drawing, and produced a whole series of really detailed drawings. And because I spent so much time on them, I started to realise I actually wasn't drawing them. They were kind of drawing themselves. I got into RMIT Fine Art and Design, went to art school full-time for 3 years. One of my lecturers at art school was really fascinated by my drawings that I did, really detailed drawings, and she wanted to help support me, help me out any way she could. So she had a friend that had a studio in St Kilda upstairs, and back in those days East St Kilda was very run down. So I moved into this space that was, the back of it was young kids smoking bongs. It was all trash, full of garbage and junk. So I turned it up into a place where other artists could come and have studios there. So I made 5 other studios, little small studios. I built a space at the back that I converted to a miniature theatre, and we used to run theatre productions in there, had a legal bar in there. It was bohemia, total bohemia. And people used to come hang out there and say, who used to live in East Village in New York, and say this is like East Village was 20 years ago.
Because standing in front of a blank canvas is a metaphor for life. It's intimidating, you know. The longer you stand in front of it and do nothing, the more intimidating it gets. So the first thing you got to do is just make a mark on it. As soon as you make the mark on it, you got to do with that mark and you're away.
So I sit back from it and go, okay, the structure's wrong, it needs something to draw the eye to there, to rest the eye. So I'm into the left side brain of that kind of thinking, because I do that with everything I make. You have to have a structure of where I want to lead the eye. You know, even the necks and everything, they're leading the eye to the head, and trying to keep the person's mind or eyes in the painting. You need tools to do that. And if you put things on it that take you out of frame, the eye will go out of frame. You know, I mean, Kandinsky was really into that idea about leading a person around his compositions. And I think after a while it just comes innately to you. You don't have to think about it anymore because you just do it. You kind of look at it and go, nah, it's not working. And sometimes I've got a painting like 3/4 finished and I say, people go, oh my God, what are you going to do now? It's finished, it looks great. And no, it's not working, it's wrong, you know. But only you know that. I mean, I love Miro's work because he creates his own kind of alphabet, or what's what I call it, his own world. And the symbolism of the characters become. I love the carnivalesque type elements to his really detailed paintings. It takes it into another world. You know, that's not representational, but indirectly it is. I love Basquiat's work. I mean, lots of people do. But I love his symbolism and the raw-ity of his work too, and the colours. There's an Irish painter that I love called De Brockie. He painted a bit like Francis Bacon, who I love too. That raw emotion, I love that. You know, I'm not really into realism. There's so many great realism artists around, but I find it doesn't move me unless they violate it. I call it a violation, where you just chuck some paint on it, just do something that's brutal and risky and spontaneous. There's a great painting that Brett Whiteley did. It's a woman in a shower. But maybe it's Aki in the shower. You know, the one with the splats on it? And he talks about the splat, and he stalked the painting for ages, just preparing himself mentally for that splat, because it was just one hit and that's it. You know, and he put a piece of masking tape to get that line. And then when he's ready, he just gets the stick, puts it in the white paint and just goes, and that's it. After all the work up to that moment, he puts it all down to chance and risk, and that's what gives the painting its energy, its life. That's the magical ingredient, but the spontaneous shower hit is what makes the painting, brings it to life.
Being sick, having leukemia, and then one thing led to another. I spent 8 years in and out of hospital. I still did projects at Middle and Marabina. I need that on life support. I had 8% kidney function, but when I was offered a wall that size, it was like, well, I'm not going to say no. So, but I needed a purpose to keep me alive.
When I had double pneumonia the second time, and I was recovering from it, I was on the couch a lot, and I thought I couldn't. My lungs were, shot. So I started working on the children's book. So I started going through some of my old artworks that I liked, that I thought I could write a story around, and I started printing them out and then having them in front of me, and I'd write a story around. And then some stories I had already in my mind, and I'd make an artwork to go with the story. So it worked both ways. It was an interesting experience to go and look at a painting I did years ago that I really liked, and develop a story around it. It's pretty mad, all the stories. They're all very rhyming, and it's definitely influenced by Dr. Seuss, because I'm a big Dr. Seuss fan. So they're all rhyming stories, and they've all got little messages in them to children, positive messages. I wanted to get the opportunity to do some kind of mural in St Kilda if I could. And not everyone's going to be into my style and my representation of St Kilda, but the mural inside will be very vivid, very colourful, very eclectic, very character driven, which is how I see St Kilda. Because, I don't want to paint something that's too literal, because St Kilda's not literal. It's very hard to determine and put your finger on. It's a real mixture of all kinds of elements that make up this really broad community, of different people and different creatives. I've done quite a few now is on panels and attaching them to walls. I'm not really into spraying, it's toxic, and I'm into sitting things off the brickwork so it comes at you, so it's more of a relief. And this mural will be like that too on panels. Symbolism of the mural is to do with my perception of the history and character of St Kilda. I've had a lot of gallery exhibitions in Europe and Asia, about a dozen shows overseas, solo shows. Had a studio in New York for 3 months as well. So I've done a lot of gallery, and that galleries have helped giving me my career.
Having cancer is an incredible experience for my consciousness to experience having cancer. It's an incredible experience to be knowing that I could die in a minute. So I don't think it's a bad experience. It's just an experience, but I can label it and say it's a bad experience, or I can label it and say it's a good experience. The labeling limits the potential of the experience always. And that's kind of how I've learned to live. You know?